Details of the program: the Facebook Community Boost team will visit up to 30 U.S. cities, including St. Louis, Albuquerque, Des Moines, Greenville, and Houston, in 2018. Facebook employees will help small businesses establish online profiles on mobile, beginning with Facebook properties: Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger WhatsApp. It will train people on digital skills, which will eventually include better video and photo-taking skills, as well as other programming. Facebook has made a concerted effort to help small businesses since 2011. Facebook says it has invested more than $1 billion on teams, technology, tools, support, and research to help small businesses. Here's why businesses have indicated to Facebook that they want more digital training more than anything, according to Facebook VP of Small Business Dan Levy. For years, if the business owner wanted to create a video commercial, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars, says Levy. Small businesses have indicated that they've been intimidated to create videos. We want to help them with that. Today, more than 4 million small businesses on Facebook create videos. Small businesses are also an important part of Facebook and Instagram's growing advertising community. Facebook says its main app has roughly 6 million advertisers and Instagram has over 2 million. The company has touted its success in getting small and medium-sized businesses to advertise on its platform with easy-to-use self-service advertising tools. Facebook has been investing in small business training for years, but they are ramping up digital literacy resources now given how quickly the landscape is changing. For example, more than 1 million small businesses have taken advantage of Facebook's free online learning hub, Blueprint, and more than 70 million small businesses use Facebook pages each month. The company says it recently created a digital marketing curriculum that will help train 3,000 Michiganders in digital skills development over the next 2 years. As it moves to cloud computing, Kroger is splitting its millions of dollars worth of business between Google's and Microsoft services, dodging Amazon, CNBC reports. It doesn't make sense for us to do a ton to help grow that business for them, Chris Hagelm, Kroger's chief information officer, told CNBC. The big picture: Amazon's purchase of Whole Foods and entry into the grocery market has upended companies like Kroger, especially after Amazon slashed prices at Whole Foods. On Wednesday, AAA and transportation company Keolis debuted a 12-month test in Las Vegas for a self-driving shuttle designed by French startup Navia, but the vehicle's first day was cut short when it was hit by a semi-truck. The truck's driver was determined to be at fault, according to the city of Las Vegas, and was cited by local police. Cayman Thread: this incident is the latest to show that humans tend to make more driving errors than self-driving software. In a recent review of accident data from the California DMV, Axios found a similar pattern. Police said the shuttle did what it was supposed to do to avoid a crash, and had the truck had the same sensing equipment, the accident would have been avoided. Niantic, the company behind Pokémon Go, announced Wednesday it is teaming up with Warner Bros. On a Harry Potter-themed augmented reality. Details are scant on the new game, Harry Potter Wizards Unite, though Niantic CEO John Hanks said in a blog post the game will merge virtual gaming with real-world location. Why it matters: Pokémon Go was an instant hit, but its usage has waned. Adding similar dynamics to another globally popular franchise seems like a no-brainer. A new study by LinkedIn using the social network's data says Providence, RI, Hartford, Connecticut, and Norfolk, Virginia, are losing more jobs than anywhere else among the nation's top 50 cities over the past year. Who are these people? A lot are nurses, teachers, and construction workers, who are in high demand elsewhere in the country, says Guy Berger, LinkedIn's chief economist. The thing about these three professions is that people in them are usually the last people to leave a town or city, simply because their jobs tend to be the most in demand and so the most stable, Berger tells Axios. By next week, a St. Louis property developer called Commercial Development Company must decide whether it will buy a shuttered, 94-year-old GM assembly plant in Janesville, Wisconsin. Whatever happens, the plant's prominence, and that of Janesville itself, in U.S. industrial history is past, vanquished by the same forces that have unraveled the fabric of so many storied manufacturing towns in and outside the U.S., and with it shaken up politics fundamentally. On Tuesday evening, The Washington Post's Amy Goldstein won the F.T. McKenzie Business Book of 2017 for Janesville: An American Story, her incredibly well-timed account, the result of 6 years of immersive research, of what happened when one company town went south. Janesville is at ISNT. The story of Donald Trump's ascendance. Its middle class has been rent by the loss of well-paying manufacturing jobs, and their replacement by lesser employment in a distribution center that the town paid millions of dollars in incentives to attract. Yet, though Democrats stayed away in droves, the town voted for Hillary Clinton last year. When we chatted yesterday, I asked Amy for her main takeaways after months of speaking about the book. Falling out of the middle class is very different from being poor all along, she said. There's a real trauma to it. Even when everyone around you is in the same circumstance, and you are a part of the worst economy since the Great Recession, humiliation is deeply felt. Losing a job feels very painful and personal, Goldstein said. Job retraining is not the panacea Democrats, Republicans, economists and everyone in between make it out to be. In Janesville, a lot of people turned to upskilling and college degrees, and for some of them, that worked. But others ended up in lesser circumstances than people who simply found other work. And even when you are better skilled, it did not necessarily mean you could stay in Janesville. Many people had to move away for work. Janesville is demonstrably the experience of towns across the country. In one call-in radio show, Goldstein heard from a caller in a former shoemaking town in Massachusetts, an ex-seafood-producing town in Florida, and a former steel-making town in the Midwest. The story of lost jobs in one community applies around the country, she said. It's not always an intentional discrimination against people with criminal histories, but passivity and unintentionality, Catcher says. To become a firefighter, most departments require an EMT license, but EMT certifying boards have a pattern of denying applicants with a criminal history. Defenders of licensing regimes say they help screen out incompetent or poorly skilled potential employees and ensure minimum skill standards. The big picture: about 21% of California's 19 million workers hold licenses, according to the Little Hoover Commission. What we've seen is that not just people in re-entry are impacted, Catcher says. Prison programs across the county are training people for jobs, very well-meaning, and then occupational licensing bars them from actually getting those jobs. It's not just firefighters in California either. In some states, inmates can be trained as cosmetologists but are unable to receive a cosmetology certification after their release. Ex-convicts often face barriers to construction, tree trimming and truck driving jobs. Women also face difficulty being hired for helping professions like home care aid. These licensing laws disproportionately affect the lower-level jobs that inmates, who tend to have less formal education, are more likely to qualify for, Catcher says. People of color with criminal histories are impacted most by licensing laws, according to studies by the National Employment Law Project. Groups all sides of the political spectrum, from ACLU to the Heritage Foundation, have been advocating to change how occupational licensing laws work, according to Lee McGrath, the managing attorney at the Conservative Institute for Justice. Go deeper with Catcher's USA Today oped. In a new paper, Wesley Pegden, Ariel Procaccia and Dingley Yu plot out a game of alternating rounds of play, in which each political party takes its best shot at maximizing advantage on a districting map. Player A maps a state into districts. Player B then peruses those districts, and selects one to freeze. No changes can now be made to that district. Then player B takes over, mixes up the game board as he or she sees fit, and now player A freezes another district in place, and so on, until all the districts in the state are fixed. In the end, neither player has an inordinate chance to pack districts with an unequal voting balance. In the real world, you still might expect the results to be less than perfect, says Pegden. But this would be much more fair and balanced than having one party do essentially whatever it wants. There is more work to do, he says. Their proposed system cannot simply be installed in Wisconsin, for instance, the venue of the dispute in the Supreme Court case. The point is that it shows that a major obstacle to fair districting, where do you find independent agents, can be overcome by using a fair division approach to drawing the districts, Pegden says. Using mathematical reasoning, the researchers found that players did not necessarily take the simple choice of freezing a district in which they have a majority. For example, player A might concede a large majority in a district to player B, with the goal of reducing the number of supporters available to B later in the game. After freezing that district, there are much fewer supporters of B left, and that could allow A to win more districts down the road, Procaccia told Axios in an email exchange. An optimal strategy looks into the future and considers all possible outcomes. Go deeper for gaming. Wanks districts can be good for player A either because player A wins a district without using too many more than 50% of the votes to do so, or because player B wins but needs to waste a lot of votes to do so, says Pegden. Credit Suisse analysts predict that upwards of 1 in 4 malls in the United States will close by the year 2022, as Americans turn to online shopping rather than spending their weekends browsing the selections at traditional stores. But that doesn't mean that many malls won't reinvent themselves, according to billionaire investor Bill Ackman. He tells CNBC malls are going to have different tenants in 5 and 10 years from now. Think about what a mall is. A mall is 100 acres at the intersection of the two most important highways in a particular community. It's going to be more food and entertainment and innovative concepts. Go deeper how America's malls are already making the transition. Alphabet's autonomous car company, Waymo, plans to announce later today that its first commercial product will be a driverless taxi service in Phoenix, according to Ars Technica. Why it matters. Car companies like Volvo, BMW, Tesla, and more have been racing to be the first provider of fully autonomous vehicles. Google decided that instead of selling autonomous vehicles, it would build a taxi service designed to be driverless. The service will initially navigate only a part of Phoenix metropolitan area, per Ars Technica, and eventually expand elsewhere. Waymo chose Phoenix because of its frequent warm and sunny weather, which is easier for autonomous cars to navigate.